as per bloody usual, got a ton of stuff to go through in 1 hour. Never going to get through it all. Let's start right off the back. I'm just going to say this, Tolemykus. Holy, I got to give you like maybe a couple of extra bonus points for the trivia today, because boy, did you ever hit it out of the park. Talk about good, considering what happened last week with the Alexander Rebo being the trivia thing and Brian R. Smith. So good to see you. Actually, I was talking to Meandering Mike the day afterwards. I was like, was I picking on Brian R. Smith a little too much? Because as you know, I'm an amateur here doing this stuff. And I was like, gosh, I hope I'm not like, coming across wrong or whatever, like about just some of the friendly banter I wanted to have with you. So it was good to see you. And you're right, Brian R. Smith. I was wrong about last week. I tried to rush the trivia thing and didn't check some of the dates right. And you're right. Alexander Rebo did not become prime minister for the second time of France until 1917. We'll talk about it. We're going to get to it because we're going to go and take a look at Tolemykus's quote. All right. And another thing we're going to do, hopefully, that Meandering Mike suggested, but I am going to do a few of them, Meandering Mike, because I love doing them. I am going to read out some of the quotes that some people do thing. I'm going to just post some as well, and hopefully that will not get me sidetracked. All right. But let's go to your quote first, Tolemykus. What particularly touches us is that the United States has always kept alive that friendship towards us, which was sealed with our blood. Alexander Ribot, French Prime Minister, April 1917. And let's go through all the hello alls. We'll start off with KilroyWasHere. Thank you so much. Great to see you. And like I said, whatever I'm doing this. William Arends, I think it's going to work out okay, the way we're going to do the ATAs. You'll see how we go about it. Anyways, you know what? While I'm babbling away here, why don't I put, I have to remove this one. Then I add this one. Aha, there you go. You guys can see it. And it's not going to be super giant size, but I want to see it super giant size on my screen. Hopefully it's still big enough for you guys there. All right. Anyways, William Arends, I think it's going to work out. You'll see what, look, we're going to go week to week. We're going to progress on this. No problem. Charles Latora, awesome to see you. And what in the world did you say? I asked you about the weather, and there you go. Zoe Dufour, super great to see you as well. Oh my gosh, Harro Bosma. Awesome thing to see. And yet again, you're going to be in the narrative coming up in a tiny little bit. I'm just popping in some other nice little things here. Great to see you, Brian R. Smith. Great to see you, Meandering Mike. Here we go. I'm going to get rid of your thing here, Charles. Where I have to get rid of it. All right. And then I got to calm down. Here we go. 20 days to Can Games, 3 Fridays from now. Holy smokes, I can't wait. So obviously we're not going to be having a live stream on that following Saturday, because I'll be at Can Games all that weekend. But I'll be doing videos, no flipping worries about that, and I'll bring you in on it. Oh my gosh, yes, Harro Bosma. We also have to talk about that later. Remember, you were saying that you had done something like 164 pictures of when you went to the War One museum there, I think in Paris or whatever. And you said you were going to make a PDF for us. Ooh, I can't wait to see that when you get time. But like I said, you're going to be up here. Please catch up on what we've been up to this week. Harro Bosma and company are on demand. It's great to hear about that, Harro Bosma, that you sent me an email and mentioned to me that your wife's on demand. She's back home. And you also set up Axis and Allies 1914. Are you using the original Axis and Allies map, Harro Bosma? Or are you going to be using the Kings and Kaisers map that I think you said you also purchased that just fits into that beautiful table that you have? And remember, I don't know if you guys know, I can't remember who makes the Kings and Kaisers thing. I think, isn't it the 3D printed people? No, maybe it isn't. But they've also come up with, I think, with an updated map of their one. It looks pretty sweet. Meandering Mike, you're taking a vacation. I hope you have a great old time in it. Boy, did I ever take a lot of cues from that as well. I was like, yep. It was kind of also was that see here, see Meandering Mike. I'm learning. I'm learning here. Hopefully, is last week's live stream. That was not the first time we've done a bit of a stock taking of what's been going on, and I really it was a good thing for me to do, to see how far away I'm veering from what I want to do and so on and so forth. Great to see this. Oh wow, a brand new person here. Great to see you, Natalie. Hope you're having a great old time. Charles Latour says, "Oh, I should." That's right. I'm not supposed to be reading. I'm learning, Meandering Mike. I'm learning. And as per usual, which is connected with the Brian R. Smith thingamajig. Remember, we started this way off when I started getting into the yellow alerts or yellow flags or whatever about. That's why we have the live stream fact checker and interesting tidbits. When I started, remember, I'm not an historian. I think the only historian we have actually on our show is in our community is Corvinus Wargaming, for goodness sakes. I think he's the only bona fide one. No, maybe WNN, the one who's writing the book and hopefully is going to be doing a book tour in North America. Anyways, that's why we have the live stream fact checker, because I make lots of mistakes. So it was like, okay, maybe go take a look at what I did last week and then we'll bring them up. And here we go. Alexandre Ribaud from last week's trivia question, which I put in. Oddly enough, I ended up being prime minister twice, once just before the war started and then again in 1916. And then and the thing that I went and checked again from Wikipedia is on the 7th of February, 1916, he visited London, held a conference with the Chancellor of the Exchequer at the Treasury. When Briand reconstituted his cabinet in December 1916, Ribaud retained the portfolio of finance. On the fall of the Briand ministry, President Poincaré again called upon Ribaud to form a government, and this time he consented, himself taking the portfolio of foreign affairs in addition to the premiership on the 19th of March, which would be obviously 1917. I know William Arends was super as yet again as well to hear about that. But remember, you were saying last week, she was giving you hell about something, and we were like, okay, things are going good. I'm going to zip through very quickly, but hopefully I'm going to also show you the headlines later on. But I just want to get into some of the meaty bits for the live stream and away we go kind of thing. China is getting bellicose. Like I said, these are just articles that I did notice this week in the Globe and Mail database, and I'd like to bring them up. This is also a nod to Meandering Mike with your economics background. There was an article this week about the economics, war economics and whatnot. And who is this Herbert Spencer person and Spencerism? He sounds like very, anyways, if you know about him or somebody wants to look it up for me, that would be awesome. Somebody who seems to have been opposed to Herbert Spencer and Spencerism is Henry George. All I know is Herbert Spencer seems very pro-owner type of thing, not very pro-labor. Food production and food control. There was an article warning Canadians of the upcoming food shortages and what is being done now, what can be done in the future. And they were using also Great Britain's food control setup as a model to emulate. Remember, with the food controller, and then there's a couple of food advisors for their food control committee. I just find this interesting, just due to the fact, I know that we've been also seeing earlier on in this year about, we saw there was 140 million bushels short overall for oats, wheat, like the whole 9 yards of like the important staples, rice even, I think, for goodness sakes. It's now affecting, this is affecting countries like I would normally not associate with being affected by the Great War. Now I'm starting to really see the totality of it all. It's not just us sending over troops and whatnot and so on and so forth, but now even like a place like Canada, and they're saying, look, the worst is yet to come. They're not trying to be alarmist. Well, they're slightly alarmist is what I'm trying to say. And here we go. France is also about to have meatless days, even though just a few weeks ago they were going on and on about how good France has been able to keep up with things. Well, a Jules Verne story. We'll see if we can get into that as well. The Kaiser's son, one of them, I'm not sure which one, just died of typhoid fever, I think, last week. There was a big mine disaster in Alaska as well. I think the largest of its kind at that point. Someone could take a look at that, hopefully. Yet again, Meandering Mike, this is a shout out to, Mrs. Meandering. That Shackleton is in San Francisco right now, and everybody's, giving him all kinds of ovations and so on and so forth. And if Hissy Cat would be around, but he's not. But if he was, I'm bringing it up anyways, is that Celtic lost, I guess, for the first time in quite a long time in the Scottish Football League. And I've got the football scores down there. It's just neat to see all these weird, remember, I used to be a Monster soccer supporter way back in the day. Not anymore. This me in and I'm never coming back out. Submarines and insurance rates. Yet again, remember, we knew this was always going to be happening, and that way back when, even at the start of the war, Great Britain said, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Anybody that's associated with us will pay up to 80% or whatever the of your insurance rates and so on and so forth. I'm going to say this again. Even if you don't have submarines in an area, the way I'm looking at it that way, just the thought of having submarines around, I'm sure, is going to skyrocket the insurance rates. That's the way I'm looking at it. Don't need to build a submarine. Just make you think I've got a submarine there is what I'm trying to look at it that way. Well-informed subs. There's another article yet again about seeing they seem to be really well-informed, even in the deviation of some of the shipping routes and so on and so forth. Where are they getting this information from? That's yet again another thing I was thinking about earlier on is this week of, we always constantly hear about like Room 40 and so on and so forth. And, that the British were able to, get some German code books and so on and so forth, or were able to intercept messages, so on and so forth. What about the flip side? I don't hear too much about what was going on with that German stuff. And I'd really like to know about that. I know. We certainly did, Zoe Dufour. I reminisce often about going with you to Ottawa Fury games. That was, yeah. Anyways, let's get back to this. U.S. Navy captures a sub? Holy smokes. I don't know. I just saw the article. I didn't read it. I was just like, my goodness, wouldn't that be interesting? Article about Canadians fighting in the suburbs of Lens. Yet again, I'm just thinking about gaming potential here. What scale would that be in? And has somebody ever done Great War gaming in the suburbs? I would like to see that. I would like to. I would. Mentions the possibility of a new, and this is in as well in the suburbs of Lens. Mentions the possibility of a new form of gas being used by the Germans. Is this true? And if so, what is this new gas? So if anybody knows or wants to go look it up, I'd love to hear about it. The Encyclopedia Britannica. Holy smokes, I hope I keep going on with that book. It is freaking awesome. Remember, I keep trying to find little bits that it's like, okay, are you, you seem to be on the ball about the Great War. The Encyclopedia Britannica on page 942 mentions that Bismarck set up the League of Three Emperors, or the Dreikersbund of 1873 to check the possibility of France trying to take back the lost territory from Franco-Prussian War. But the treaty fell apart because of Bismarck sacrificed Russia's interest at the Congress of Berlin in 1878. And then I wanted to just pop in a little timeline thing. And you guys hopefully can fill me in on these things. So you guys probably know a hell of a lot more than I do, for goodness sakes. I just wanted, that's why it's giving me a lot of question marks after certain things here. 1878 to 1871 is the Franco-Prussian Wars, we know. Then 1873 is the League of Three Emperors. 1878, a Congress of Berlin. The League of Three Emperors falls apart because of that. They mentioned that up ahead. 1879, the Dual Alliance. And then 1881, the League of Three Emperors is restored. 1882, the Dual Alliance becomes the Triple Alliance with the inclusion of Italy. So now you've got Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. And then 1883, which we're like, whoa, I'd really like to know about this. 1883, a secret alliance with Romania and Germany, Austria-Hungary. What in the world's going on there? 1887, the League of Three Emperors collapses due to Serbian-Bulgarian War of 1885-86. I don't know. 1887 is the reinsurance treaty between Germany and Russia. And yes, obviously I could have looked up irredentist in the dictionary, but if I had done that, I'm not giving Meandering Mike the option of finding some witty remark for it. So yes, there you go. I'd like to know what irredentist means. I keep looking, finding it up. It's got something to do with nationalist whatevers, but I thought maybe Meandering Mike could throw in his option F ability and pop that in. That's why I've got it in. Please let me know what you guys have been up to, especially if it's World War I related games. I'd love to know. Engagement question of the week. Here we go. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, and I'm just throwing it out, especially due to the fact that, you know what freaked me out? Finding out that, oh, thanks, Brian R. Smith. I'm going to read this out because I need to hear it. Brian R. Smith, Herbert Spencer was a philosopher and sociologist who died in 1902. Holy moly, that early, eh? The way the article sounded like he was alive. His most influential ideas was social Darwinism and survival of the fittest concept applied to society gave rise to scientific racism. Thank you. Oh, I'm not kidding you, Meandering Mike. I am not flipping kidding. I'm not. Thank you. I am not kidding you, Meandering Mike. When I wanted to go and look up the definition for irredentist, I was like, don't look it up. You're missing a golden opportunity here. And look what happened. Kaboink. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Tolemykus is putting in his 2 bits in as well. If there was another C route, and of course I was thinking when I was looking up, talking yet again with Meandering Mike about World War I, the SBI game 1914 upstairs there. I guess would be 1914, 1918, I think it says. If there was another sea route connecting the Black Sea to the Mediterranean other than through the Dardanelles, which was able to be freely used by Russia, how do you think this would have affected the war? I'm just throwing it out there. And would there have been a Gallipoli? And that's why I was like, it blows me away to think the fact that, can you believe this? 2-year anniversary of the Gallipoli landings, man. 2 years. What the hell is going on? It just blew me away. I couldn't believe it. It's already been 2 years. Anyways, here we go. And now we're going to go off into trivia land. Thank goodness. And I'm going to give you your first clue because you guys can see who's doing pretty darn good there. And like I said, Tolemykus, you're going to get a couple of extra points. But boy, oh boy, if I do that, we're going to get into trouble because we're getting off everybody at the top there is pretty darn good. Oh, yeah, I'll stop here because I'm going to show you your first whatever. Oh, we got another clue. Oh, thank you. You guys are great. You guys are great. I'm not even going to say a thing, but boy, oh boy, everybody's bringing out their inner Meandering Mike today. It's wonderful. Wonderful to see. All right. And let me go to the banners here. And this is going to be an interesting one, as you know, based on the first clue. And anybody that's new, basically what's happened is I'm going to give out 6 clues. They start out very obscure and they tend to be narrow. You get 1 point, even if you guess. Doesn't matter. I don't care what you say. You're going to get a point. And if you get it, you get 6 additional points. And then we talk about the person or thing. And the way you go. Anyways, and the first one is I have not been in the news recently, which, like I said, is ironic due to the fact that 9 times out of 10, it's been the other way around. I have been in the news recently because I'm trying to sucker you guys into going to the things. Hold on here. I almost screwed up here. There we go. And you're going to get a point, Tolemykus, for Lucille Ball, but you are incorrect. Hold on, I got to pop you down here. All right. And I'm going to give you your next clue. I really like, oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you about why I'm really liking what I'm doing and what we did about last week, which is really cool. Don't worry, William Arends. I'm well aware of the time, and we will get to your stuff yet again. Oh my gosh. And the other thing is, William Arends, as part of your material has already been recorded. It's been inserted into the after hours, so that's great. Oh my God, you know, though, we're getting into like 2.5 hours long show. It's just nuts. Oh my gosh, hold on here. We got a ton of things here. Meandering Mike's political harmony. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. Charles Latora says breakfast video. BRB, be right back, breakfast video, but you're going to get a point anyways, Charles Latora, I don't care. KilroyWasHere says Churchill, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. Hold on here. I'm going to make sure I pop it in here. Ooh, Harro Bosma says unrestricted submarine warfare. You're incorrect, but you're going to get a point. Hold on here. I got to make sure I know where you are. Oh, that's right. William, Harro Bosma, you're way up. In political harmony, I don't think I gave Meandering Mike 1 as well for that. Okay, and did I give you your... Oh, anyways, I was trying to say why I'm liking what I'm doing. So I'm trying to integrate the trivia question with a website of the week, a book of the week. In other words, they're all going to be connected. I think that's a great way of doing it. Anyways, it was all due to the fact that one of the books I was reading, I went, holy smokes, this is such a cool fact. And it just started going from there. Oh, William Arends, I like it. the English blockade, but you are incorrect. You're going to get a point regardless. Okay, hold your horses here. I gotta pop the thingamajigs in here. I was on board one of the ships that took part in the blockade. Nice one, William Arends, but the wrong war. In the blockade during the first Balkan War, and I'll put that as well in the comments. Ooh, this is a good one then. Oops, I forgot to put that one in there. And I'll put that in here, the second one. And hopefully I won't get into YouTube thinks I'm a spammer because I've been putting in too many comments in a row here. All right, I'm going to give you your other clue then. However, my career took off when I got my aviator's certificate. Who am I? Are we already? Oh my gosh, did I miss one? I think I did. Darn it. I joined the Navy when I was 14. I should have mentioned that. Did I put that one in? I can't remember if I did put it in. Let's see. I don't think I did. So anyway, so there's your another clue. Tolemykus says ship's mechanic. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. Meandering Mike says Pasha. And I like that one as well, but you are incorrect. And hold your horses. Did I? And I did. I said, however, my career took off when I got my aviator's certificate. I'll put that in the comments as well. And we're 22 minutes in, and we haven't done a bloody thing. Oh, brother. As per usual. Jesus, Murphy, mother of God. KilroyWasHere says Samson, and you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And where are you here? There you are. And Meandering Mike says King Peter. Nice one, but you are incorrect. And I'll put that in the comments. This next one here. I've been given several awards over the years from various countries, including England, France, Italy, Poland, and the United States of America. So this person has been around, that's for sure. It certainly did something amazing. Oops, I forgot to put the wrong, there we go. And Harro Bosma says, Jellicoe, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect, Harro Bosma. Sorry to say. And we are now down to the very, very last one. But it's going to be a fun one, regardless of what happens, because some really neato things as far as I'm concerned. KilroyWasHere says Edwin Dunning. I don't know who in the world that person is. So if you know who it is, please let us know. I would love to know. And I'm going to give you your last clue. Let's see what happens. I am the first person to successfully launch an aerial torpedo attack and the first to sink a ship using this method. Who am I? Oh, boy, do I actually really like your, oops. Yep, YouTube rejected my comment because they think I'm spam. I love being spammed on my own, whatever. Meandering Mike says Amelia Earhart. Earhart, you are, but you are incorrect, but you're certainly getting a point. William Arends says Mike Manic, you're going to get a point. You are incorrect. Where are you here? And Captain Kangaroo says for Charles Latora, you are incorrect. You're going to get a point. Meandering Mike says Chuck Bell, you're going to get another point, but you are incorrect. And no one's going to, what should I do now, people? We're going to go off to, I'm going to let you guys stew on it for a little while. And then we're going to go off and take a look at some other stuff. How does that sound? You know what? Just a tiny little break because we didn't do it last week as well. Hold on here. Is Von Speed. Ooh, I like that one. Harro Bosma, but you are incorrect. I'm going to get rid of I'm going to get rid of the last banner. But you get a point, as you know. And there we go. So what I thought is last week we never got around to it, which, oh my God, I forgot to mention. Zoe Dufour, I just found out yesterday. Do you know what the hell's, I don't know if I sent you the, oh my God, William KilroyWasHere. Well done, man. You got it. So that'll be the end of that. Hold on here. We got to get to it. So that was the end of that. Now we can start that. Charles Edmonds, well done. And Meandering Mike says, Kettering, I don't know who that person is, but you're going to get a point for that as well. Well done, KilroyWasHere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, and we'll slowly get to it. We're going to get to it right now. Oh my God, Zoe Dufour, I just found out yesterday. I didn't send you the message. Mario Kart 9 is coming out for the Switch 2. So you know what that means. I'm going to be buying a Switch 2. I just lost my freaking marbles when I found out that there's a new Mario Kart coming out. I was like, you've got to be joking. Anyways, that's it. Let's go off to stopping the screen. I know, Zoe Dufour. I'm in trouble. Big time trouble. Big time trouble. All right, let's get into the good stuff. So we're going to get into Charles Edmonds. Thank you very much, KilroyWasHere, because you're really going to help out here. So how are we going to do this? We're going to go straight off to the aircraft land. Yep, because that's how it all started with the Charles Edmonds thing, and I'm going to get rid of me. But I got to present the screen. All right. So how this all started off was due to the fact that I was looking at this book, and I'm going to pop it in to change the width. So I picked this book up at Chapters a little while ago, and it was all due to that book. Remember that World War I illustrated image of the day where I was trying to figure out the plane, and I'm pretty darn sure I've tracked it down that it's an albatross, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. One thing at a time here. So, and I'm going to obviously have to bring her down. So this is a picture of somebody you're about to find out in a minute. Any guesses what that airplane is, by the way? Anybody? I'm just going to say, toot my little horn here, I got it right. I was like, whoa, well done, Christopher. I was pretty happy. So I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'll let you guys figure it out. Anyways, here we go. We're going to read a little tiny bit, and hopefully I'm not going to drive you nuts, because I want to a little bit. It's going to one thing. Yeah, let's go for it. So the Middle East, far from the decisive Western. Of course, I wanted to start off with the to connect the dots with other people. I wanted to get into the airplane stuff from there. I was like, wait a minute, Corvinus Wargaming into the Ottomans. Let's go there, anyways. Far from the decisive Western front, the Middle East and we don't hear about this often, anyways. Far from the decisive Western front, the Middle East campaigns were dominated by fighting between armies with limited aerial support. However, aerial reconnaissance by the few airplanes available proved invaluable to success on the ground. Despite courageous fighting and some notable victories, the Ottoman Empire's lack of industry and primitive transportation infrastructure doomed it in a struggle with advanced industrial nations like Britain and France, because an overstretched Germany was unable to provide sufficient help to redress this imbalance. I don't think we're going to go through the whole thing because we got too much stuff to do. No live stream. Yeah. So, we know live stream the weekend. I'm not that bad, Zoe Dufour. Not that bad. I'm not like we know somebody else who has a new game, takes a day off work, for goodness sakes. Yeah, we just don't have enough time. I wanted to get into more of this later, but let's see if there's a little tiny bits that it can find that I found. Well, obviously there's the Gallipoli thing. Where was it though? It was a few things. Starting to talking about Mr. Edmonds right down there. On the 4th of May, French Escadrille MF-98T, T for Tenedos, was ready for action with 8 Maurice Farmans flying from Tenedos with number 3 on the 12th of June. The British seaplane carrier HMS Ben Maisheri arrived in the area, bringing 5 additional seaplanes. The first victory in the arena came on the 22nd of June, when a British Voisin downed a German airplane over Gallipoli. On the 12th of August, Flight Commander Edmonds, flying a short 184 seaplane, made the first successful aerial torpedo attack, sinking a Turkish steamer. Later, it was determined the ship had been beached after previously being hit by submarine torpedo. But he was the first person to successfully hit a ship, like he actually hit the target. However, Edmonds' short could barely stagger into the air with its heavy load. On 17th of August, 2 more Turkish ships in the Dardanelles were torpedoed by the short seaplanes, one by Edmonds. The other torpedo was launched by the short while it was in the water. After releasing its torpedo, the Short was finally able to take off. By the end of August, No. 2 Squadron, a Royal Navy Aviation Squadron, had arrived with 22 airplanes, 6 Marine, blah, blah, blahs. Anyways, he does successfully nail a plane a few days later, like actually successful. So he's got the first time someone's actually successfully hit a target with an aerial torpedo, and he actually sank a ship with one. And this is what a Short 184 looks like. What a fascinating looking airplane. And I thought you guys would want to take a look at that. So there we go. And now we're going to get into the next thing, which was, like I said, I wanted to start finding out about that plane, what in the world it is. Let's hold on here. Go to fit. So there's the next book that we're going to, and I wanted to look at the Albatross D3. Now take a very hard, good look yet again, please, of the wing. This is the kicker, the wing. All right. When we get to the thing here. What was it that I wanted to look at, though? Was there something here? Someone more powerful engine incorporating? No, this is obviously a one thing. One of the first German units to receive the D3 was Richthofen's Jasta 11, and the type was encountered in Macedonia and Palestine, as well as on the Western Front. The heyday of, and this, we're in it right now. The heyday of the D3 came in the spring of 1917, and during Bloody April, they took especially heavy toll of the Allied BE-2s, which were no match for the faster, more heavily gunned German machines. Now, we're going to get yet again, I'll put you sideways unless I'm driving you guys. That's all right. It's also going to be connecting the dots yet again of what we're seeing with people not innovating or people innovating. Yet again, we're looking at the Nivelle offensive, which is kicking into high gear right now. And we're going to take a look at yet again, well, especially when we get into the after hours and looking into William Arends' ATA material, is that you're going to see that the Germans have adapted since Verdun. The French did not, and it's going to cost them dearly. Yet again, you see here, it looks fantastic. This new airplane, the Albatross by the Germans, is doing fantastic. Well, guess who does not adapt when they get into the next model of the Albatross? It's the Germans, but the British do. You know, it's always this back and forth. It's amazing. So there's an Albatross, as you can see there, and that's a proper fighter. But yet again, I want you guys to just specifically take a look at the tail. And then we're also going to get into that little bit here where it says into a false sense of superiority by the success of the D1, D2, and D3 fighters. And then here's the little bits where I found in this is a wonderful little book. And this is what started me off, actually, earlier in the week when I went, hey, wait a minute. So this is Lieutenant Colonel David Bashaw, Knights of the Air, about the Canadians in the Great War. And I thought this was quite a nice little spot. I'm going to be very cognizant of the time. For sure. Hold on here. There we go. I just thought it was an interesting little poster. As a kid, I would have been like, oh boy, do I ever want to be a pilot? It just looks so like relaxing, whatever, even though we both know that everybody knows they're freezing to death up there and so on and so forth. $1.10 per day. Remember that earlier in the week, we saw those painters and whatnot union fighting for 45 cents an hour or something. It's just like, oh my gosh. Now, here we go. Let's see. I know it's not the greatest. To fully appreciate what transpired in the air above the Western Front in 1917, we must first understand the basic game plan for the Allied land campaign that year. Yeah, I do want to read this little bit out because it's really going to help out later on as far as I'm concerned. French General Robert Nivelle was a pivotal figure for as Joffre's successor in an overall command of all French forces. He intended to mount a massive offensive in the Aisne River in early April with all available French forces. We're seeing this right now. This infantry assault would be preceded by a softening up artillery barrage of overwhelming magnitude. Remember, they were like, it was something like way more than they were using. Something like 18 million shells or something nuts. Remember, fact checker. The idea was to generate a French breakout within 48 hours. And remember that, 2 days. We're going to start seeing the crazy dates. Accompanied by a diversionary offensive by the British Third Army over the Scarpe River to the north, which is also associated with the Battle of Vimy Ridge. The British would eventually link up with the French after their breakout somewhere in the vicinity of Cambrai. As part of the British subsidiary plan, the Canadian Corps, positioned north of the Scarp of the British First Army, would seize and hold Vimy Bridge. There were, however, some ominous portents of impending failure. The Russian Revolution and the incipient competent turmoil it created on the Eastern Front posed a serious challenge to the strategic balance of forces. Unrestricted submarine warfare seriously threatened the North Atlantic supply lines between the New World and Europe and became a catalyst for American entry into the war as a declared belligerent. I was going to say this. Remember last week's question of the week was about why did France and Great Britain not hold off and wait for the Americans to show up? They knew full well what the hell was going on, and they went ahead anyways. I'm just saying. And I know that Tolemykus was saying, oh, they were trying to catch up with the initiative and so on and so forth. Anyways, closer to the battle itself, General Neville ignored General Trenchard's cautions and probably those of Commandant Deputy of Groupement de Combat on the Aisne, his own air command, that allies, here we go. I get to do what Meandering Mike says, just keep on doing, but just hit on the little clicker. That the Allies could not count on the air superiority that they had enjoyed at the Somme. Neville's confidence was both unshaken and absolute. This massive assault, he believed, would destroy the Germans on the ground and force them to sue for peace, therefore by bringing a rapid end to the war on the Allies' terms. No other outcome could be contemplated, but let alone tolerated. The effective use of massive artillery concentrations in this offensive was dependent on airborne spotting and control, which in turn demanded air superiority. The Germans also placed great stock in retaining control of the air, and by the start of the year, they had 37 Jastas offensive. I'm going to go back up. There we go. D2s, while the newer, faster D3s were also coming on board in significant numbers. The Germans had given up the notion of defending every square foot of ground, electing instead to thin out frontline positions and provide defense through strong reserve forces held ready for counterattacks once Allied units outran their supporting artillery. We're going to see this in the war summary, unbelievably so, and we're also going to see it in William Arends' ATA. It is freaking amazing to see. I absolutely love it. As part of this more fluid defense plan, by March 1917, the Germans had withdrawn to the exceptionally well-defended Hindenburg Line, situated approximately 20 miles east of the old Somme front. This new defensive line, provided on the great bastion of Vimy Ridge north of Arras, which dominated the Dubois plain below. It also eliminated two large and vulnerable salients between both Peronne and Soissons, and Arras and Bapaume. Vimy was effectively blocking an Allied advance into the industrial centers of Lille and Lens, which we know they're right there right now. We were just talking about them fighting in the suburbs. Although the withdrawal adversely affected German morale, it greatly diluted the strategic justification for Neville's particular plan of attack. The air plan for this spring assault was based entirely on Trenchard's unshakable faith. Remember, not innovating or not learning, like you're not changing, you're not learning. Offensive in a nutshell, the Allies were to acquire air superiority by taking the battle to the Germans over their own turf. And remember, they were like, wow, look at us, we're fantastic. None of the Germans are coming across the lines. We're always on there. It's by design, guy. It's by design. Trenchard believed this plan would force the Germans to fight well behind. Is it down there? Unhindered freedom of movement. Nonetheless, even Raymond Collishaw, one of the most active and successful Empire scouts of the period, later seriously questioned the wisdom of Trenchard's unrelating offensive position. While his conception gave lip service to the principle of war to sustain an offensive attitude, it conflicted sharply with the major principle of war, to be the strongest at the vital phase. The general result of this policy was that all the enemy had to do was count the number of aircraft on patrol and then send up superior force to overwhelm them. The air superiority between the contending fighters, and we're doing not too bad for time, developed in 1917 and 18 into a war of attrition. No one can deny that it was the persistent policy of sending out small forces of British fighters to be overwhelmed by numerically superior hostile forces that contributed in a major manner to the heavy casualties suffered by British fighter squadrons in France. It was the superiority of British production on the English home front in both aircraft and air crew that saved the day for the British air arm in France. In practice, there was almost a complete lack of imagination in RFC operational control, and the operation orders usually resolved themselves into an offensive patrol to endurance at dawn and dusk. This process went on for years as a kind of fixed idea. The German fighter control authorities were, of course, fully informed of this inflexible rule, and numerous German autobiographies have since provided plenty of evidence that advantage was taken of RFC inflexibility of purpose to send up numerically superior forces to overwhelm the patrols. I'm going to get into that bit because I want to get into some other stuff, but that's sweet. Now, the reason why I brought up that, and you unfortunately did not get to see this bit, was something about one of the something about there was a problem about the I think maybe the D4, and I remember mentioning this. I thought it was an odd thing to put as a cover of a game, an albatross, and you can see they're definitely albatrosses. Is that the wing is breaking off, and I was like, what the hell? What kind of person would use an illustration for that for a game? And now I'm thinking, well, actually, maybe this person knows a hell of a lot more about why they used it. I was like, wow, because that's what they actually said in that little book about the albatross, saying that they had issues, on a rapid descent. You can see from there. I thought that was pretty neat. And here, this is the other stuff we're going to get in. I thought there was some other stuff. Hold on here. I want to make sure that we get into the. Oh, it can't be just that. Isn't it really? Okay, let's go into the pictures, and then we're going to get off. And oh my God, yes. Let's certainly get into this, and I think I've got you even into the banners, Mister. Yes, I do. Here are some pictures from my trip to the market. This is William Arends. I bought a dice tower there, and later made a car race game with the grandson that he was happier to play with than Thunder Road. Wicked. I don't know. I think I've heard of Thunder Road. And here's your second thing. I drew the race course and made 4 car counters we're about to see in a minute. We used dice for movement. The dice tower worked great. And you got to let me know, William Arends, is this a Russian thing? Well, there's your second bit. Yeah, it looks like a nice place. Ooh, looks like a place where I could buy some beating-oriented stuff too. That'd be kind of neat. Oh, I think I can just do it this way. Oh, it looks like a nice little, as well as like it's not too like crowded beyond belief. Now that thing there, William Arends, what is that? Is that the Russian? Is that the Russian eagle? You guys would know, or it doesn't look like it. No, it couldn't be because it would be double heads, correct? And let's see, get into your things here. Take a look and see if we can get some things that maybe you didn't want us to see. Timmy, Bobby, David, and Jeff. Cool. Yeah, of course, I'm trying to figure out what the rules were. And those are nice looking wooden dice. I wonder how heavy are they, William Arends? Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this. Boink, boink. Oh, nice one. Thanks. I like that. It might be Polish. Thanks, Meandering Mike. That makes sense. All right, so I'll put that away. Yeah, let's take a quickie look, and then we're gonna. Yeah, we got 15 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna go and look at the articles very quickly. The ones that I was mentioning that were that I noticed this week, so you can see what I'm talking about here. I'm gonna get rid of me so you guys can see this more. Oh, I will certainly do that. Hold your horses. I can easily do that for you. And I'll try to Increase the contrast. How's that? Is not too bad, Meandering Mike? You can see not too bad. Is that too much of a not good enough resolution? Oh, thanks. All right. So yeah, let's quickly go to the articles just very quickly. This is one as well. Oh my gosh, no. You know what? We're going to go to her, and then we're going to go straight off to the other stuff. The hell with it, because I just, as you guys know, I absolutely adore this person. Her stuff is just fantastic. So this is Edith Wharton, as you know, just an amazing. Oh gosh, she's so good. Hold on here. Boink. So it's this some bits here. I just some of the way she describes things just knocked me sideways. About 2 miles from the German frontier, just here as well as front, an isolated hill rises out of the Lorraine meadows. East of it, a ribbon of river winds among poplars, and that ribbon is the boundary between empire and republic. On such a clear day as this, the view from the hill is extraordinarily interesting. From its grassy top, this is what I was like, whoa, I've never heard of that before. A grassy top, or the way she mentions it or describes it, a grassy top, a little airplane cannon stares to heaven, watching the east for the danger speck, and the circumference of the hill is furrowed by a deep trench, a bowel. Damn it, there was another word I wanted to look up. Please let me know if anybody knows what the word bowel means. I have no flipping clue. Oh, thanks, William Arends, for letting us know that it is the Polish coat of arms. So Meandering Mike is correct. Thank you. Rather winding invisibly from one subterranean observation post to another. In each of these earthly warrens, ingeniously wattled, roofed, and iron sheeted, stand 2 or 3 artillery officers. Oh my God, that's why as well. This is on a side note. I brought this book. There goes my thing. Is the trench warfare book, because it's gonna come up with this the Edith Wharton thing, and you can see in a minute. Stand 2 or 3 artillery officers with keen, quiet faces, directed by telephone the fire of batteries, nestling somewhere in the woods 4 or 5 miles away. Interesting as the place was, the men who lived there interested me far more. They obviously belonged to different classes and had received a different social education, but their mental and moral fraternity was complete. They were all fairly young, and their faces had the look that war has given to French faces, a look of sharpened intelligence, strengthened will, and sobered judgment, as if every faculty, trebly vivified, were so bent on the one end that personal problems had been pushed back to the vanishing point of the great perspective. From this vigilant height, one of the intentest eyes upon frontier, we went a short distance down to the hillside to a village out of range of the guns, where the commanding officer gave us tea in a charming old house with a terraced garden full of flowers and puppies. Below the terrace, lost Lorraine stretched away to her blue heights, a vision of summer peace. And just above us, the unsleeping hill kept watch, its signal wires trembling night and day. It was one of the intervals of rest and sweetness when the whole horrible black business seems to press most intolerably on the nerves. And where is it? Is it here? I wanted the bits here. We passed into the forest and halted on the edge of a colony of queer, exotic huts. On all sides, they peeped through the branches, themselves so branched and so sodded and leafy that they seemed like some transition from between tree and house. We were in one of the so-called villages nègres of the second-line trenches, the jolly little settlements to which the troops retire after doing their shift under fire. This particular colony has been developed to an extreme degree of comfort and safety. The houses are partly underground. Okay, it's not there, but it's this bit. Can you see this picture? I hope a little bit. I should have went to the Google things. But remember the trench warfare book, which is one of my favorite things to talk about, is and it was the beginnings. It's where live and let live comes from, for goodness sakes, which is mind-blowing. But that cover of them sitting there with flowers and whatnot on the table and whatnot. And here I am reading this week, and I went, oh my goodness gracious me. Does that ever sound like the cover of the Trench Warfare book, which is, as you know, is one of the most, for me, one of the most profound. It changed my outlook on the Great War, and just fantastic. Anyways, we got that done. We're 50 minutes. We're going to stop because we're going to go straight into the ATA, your second ATA thing for sure, William Arends. So let me stop the. Hold on here. How do I do that one? I'm going to stop the screen. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to put you there. There we go. And yep, but a bunch of other stuff. Oh yeah, I did. It's not the end of the world. Hold on here. I got to get back to it. Getting sidetracked. I want to get to your first ATA here. William Arends. I do have some notes here. Hold on here. I did make some footnotes. All right. Let me get you in here. So we still didn't do the video of the week, which was last week, which I wanted to. Oh well, we'll see what we can do for next week. Goodness gracious. All right, here we go. You guys are in here. Excellent. Yep. All right, here we go. Your second bit, William Arends, and hopefully I did everything right. I know you sent me in an addendum, and I didn't kind of really know what I was doing or whatever. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to stop doing your little whatever. So I just hope to God you get. Well, of course, you guys are entertaining yourselves. Berlin's latest news: Sunday, April 22nd, 1917. The sudden advance of German forces in the English Channel and the mouth of the Thames. Effective naval gunfire on Calais and Dover. Rigorous sea combat east of Dover at the second thrust. Berlin, 21st of April, 1917, official. German light naval forces during the night of the 20th to the 21st of April had advanced into the eastern part of the Channel and near the mouth of the Thames. The fortresses of Dover and Calais were from a close distance hit with about 650 effective shots fired by naval guns. Calais was unguarded, and Dover, a vehicle stationed at an outpost, was destroyed. The enemy coastal forces seemed to be absent, as no enemy crafts were encountered. Oh, you see these nice little footnotes that I'm putting, or footnotey things? I don't know what the hell they are, but just reference points for me. So that's number one. And then I can go off and take a look at my sheet here. And I've got, what the hell is up with this? The enemy coastal forces seems to be absent. That's what I mean. What the hell's going on with that? Reminds me somewhat of the bicycle detachments. I don't know. Do you remember that when they were looking for Zeppelins and also worried about someone trying to, I guess, land infantry or whatnot off the East Coast, Midland area or whatever of England, and they were using bicycle groups to go up and down. It just kind of reminded me of that, of just, big stretches of no one looking kind of thing. Yep, that's what I did. Okay, we're just going to keep on going down here. This allowed a part of our naval force under the command of Corvette Captain Gautier to take the opportunity to set course towards the near end of the Channel east of Dover. Here were English destroyers and command ships. A rigorous naval combat occurred. In this close quarter action, an enemy command ship was sunk by a torpedo round. More enemy ships were hit by our naval guns and were heavily damaged. Possibly one of them was sunk by that action. During this combat, two of our torpedo boats, G-85 and G-42, did not return to port and were assumed to be lost. All of our other boats had neither damage nor loss of personnel and could continue on. A group of our naval forces south of the Thames did not engage with any elements of our enemy and could only bring back one prisoner from a merchant ship, the Chief of Admiralty of the Navy. Berlin's latest news, Monday, 23rd of April, 1917, morning edition, active shooting, battles on the Arras front. So, here we are. From the German perspective of what's going on there. Heavy fire in particular sectors of the Arras front, infantry combat in the Luce sector. Along the Aisne and in the Champagne, things are mostly quiet, only to the northeast of Soissons. Is there any noticeable combat fire? The higher headquarters, 22nd of April, WTB, Western Theater of War. The Army Group of Crown Prince Ruprecht. Yesterday, in many positions in Flanders and on the Artois front, the artillery battle was heavy and extended. Northeast of the Scarpe, actions may turn towards a momentarily larger activity. Troop movements in front of our lines have come under our destructive fire, and a heavy English reconnaissance thrust on the north bank of the river was thrown back by a counterattack. On the English front, northwest of Saint-Quentin, a small combat occurred south of the Somme, only artillery fire. The army group of the German Crown Prince. On the Aisne and in the Champagne, the combat activity was very slight on this evening. Near Berry-en-Bas, our assault troops blew up a French blockhouse and garrison. In the vicinity of Bray, Put-de-Brise, Fay on the street Rem, Neuchâtel, and on the west bank of the ship, combat occurred that for the enemy ended with great losses. The army group of Duke Albrecht. The situation was unchanged. Yesterday, the enemy lost in the air 6 aircraft. And look at this guy. Holy smokes. But this is the kicker. I want to make sure about this. Of those, 5 were shot down by that master, Knight of the Air, Baron von Richthofen. Now, it does say that aircraft. It did. So I'm wondering, you know what I mean? It doesn't say airplanes there. Remember, they were also counting barrage balloons and so on and so forth. But I don't remember Richthofen being Mr. Barrage Balloon dude. He seemed to really be into going after the planes. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, there's another fact checker for you. Navy flyers brought down an enemy airship over Newport. The reason why I bring this one up, cool. I don't even have to look at my footnotes, is there's an article earlier on this week about a British airship losing power and basically drifting off course, and due to the wind and whatnot, and getting brought down by enemy thing, and that no sign of the airship was ever found, and they were assuming therefore the entire crew was lost. I'm wondering if this is it. Like, I would like to connect the dots. Obviously, the first General Quartermaster Ludendorff. Successful undertaking of the. I mean, what's the point? Why are we doing this, for goodness sakes? We want to find out both sides of the coin. Eastern Theater of War, on numerous positions on the front active artillery and mortar fire. Italian Theater of War. Yesterday on this front at the coastline, enemy aircraft harassed us in the Drazen and another one. Land assault section. I've never seen that term before. As anybody, I'd like to know. We took an officer and 75 soldiers captive and commandeered 2 machine guns. The combat on other fronts was otherwise quiet. Southeastern Theater of War, nothing new. The deputy to the chief of the general staff, von Hofer, Field Marshal Colonel. Berlin's latest news, Tuesday, April 24th, 1917, morning edition. The English assaults towards Arras have collapsed. Heavy artillery fire on the Aisne and the Champagne. There were active detached battles in the area of Aisne-Champagne, often accompanied by heavy artillery barrages. The expected English attack. So remember, we can see that the Germans know what the hell is going on. The expected English attack. This is even without them even using, supposedly flying their planes over English controlled areas. Pretty darn good, huh? On Arras, Lus took place, but was broken up by a wide-ranging defensive response that left the English with heavy losses. They could not control 1 meter of our positions. Northwest from Faupin, near the tributary streams of the Scarpe, on the 22nd of April, enemy troop formations, cavalry, and tank squadrons came under a heavy, concentrated, and devastating fire. On the morning of the 22nd of April, infantry combat flared up. Before this, there had been 6 days of artillery exchanges along a broad front. The preliminary fights in the sectors of Scarpe and the Somme ended in our favor. I so wish I never had to fall asleep, and you guys would just want to stay up with me for the next weekend, because I could go and go and go. I know we're at 12 o'clock and we're about to get into after hours, but I swear to God, man, if my voice could keep up, I would want to keep on going on. The same thing happened to an enemy patrol that probed Ophis. Saint-Quentin is once more under artillery fire. In the vicinity of Barillon and Lévis, the enemy's troops' formation were heavily decimated by grenades and shrapnel charges. Because of this, an enemy assault did not come off. In the area of Ain-Champagne, at 11 p.m. at night, south of Crayon, an enemy attack led by the French experienced painful and exceptionally high losses. After this, it was reported that by the area of Bari-en-Bas up to Auberif, in the days from 16th to 19th of April. Remember, 16th to 18th should have been just it. And now we're into the 19th, for goodness sakes. It's Crazyville Acres. I do want to read this because it's important for me. Land assault section generally refers to infantry units tasked with storming enemy positions across no man's land. Thanks. Oh, wow, this is nice. North of Saint-Hilaire, our land assault troops, took 15 soldiers out of the enemy trenches. An enemy patrol was turned back after a hand grenade. Berlin's latest news, Wednesday, 25th of April, 1917, evening edition. From our headquarters, the higher headquarters, Western Theater of War, the army group of Crown Prince Ruprecht. On the battlefield of Arras, the village of Gavril has been fought over from early yesterday morning. North of the Scarpe, the enemy has not repeated his assault. South of the Scarpe, Reed Field and the battle blazed anew in the afternoon on both sides of the street. Arras-Cambrai, the English divisions hold a wider front. I'll put your thing back on again, the other one as well. I know, Meandering, I'm still learning. I'm getting hopefully getting better. Under fire and in hard, close-quarter battle, the English assault broke apart everywhere with heavy losses. But I'm going to put your second thing back on again. On the 23rd of April, the English and French lost 20 airplanes and 1 stationary balloon. So, okay, on the 24th of April, they lost 19 airplanes, 16 in air battles, and 3 to air defense ground-based batteries. Now, what the heck did I put for number 6? Yep, sounds like Bloody April for sure. Lieutenant Bernard shot down his 20th, 21st, and 22nd enemy. At one of the counterattacks near Gavril, Captain Zorer, the leader of an air support unit, flew against attacking enemy infantry that were on a 150-meter high hill and shot up the English line with his machine gun. The first General Quartermaster Ludendorff. The outcome of the bombing of Calais. The Petit Calaisin, a newspaper, informed about the bombing of Calais that numerous houses were hit and received heavy damage. Yeah, it's neat to read this because in the war summary, they talk about the bombing of Calais, and it's a little slightly different. I mean, of course, when they do hear about deaths, they're like, oh my God, those bastard Germans, killing women and children. The civilian population lost 7 individuals killed, with the number of the wounded being quite large, caused by splintering wood and falling stones. Oh, shit. The number of military, I'd rather just be dead right away, obviously. Everybody would. The number of military victims has not been made public. The rest of the report has been censored. November 24th, Reuters report, the German naval personnel that had been killed during the recent combat in the English Channel are today been given military honors. Oh, this is so sweet. William Arends talk about a wonderful way to go around and around and around. So when I saw that, I was like, oh boy, I certainly want to mention it. Then we're going to take a look at your translation thing. Then later on in the war summary, they also mentioned the exact same thing happening. I was like, this is so cool. The single wreath came from the Vice Admiral of the Coastal Patrol of Dover and carried the motto, to the honor of the courageous enemy. I know at first I was like, am I reading this right? I'm like, yep, you're reading it right. And then, as you said, William Arends, and then and that'll be the end of the show. Then we go off to after hours. It isn't too bad. Translator's note. Like I said, I could go on forever, people. Like, that. I find it interesting, but I know that everybody has to do other things, including myself. I find it interesting that the Channel raid that today would be seen as a terrorist act, despite occurring in wartime, would be given any honor by the opposing command 3 years into this war. That's true, actually, if you think about it by now, because they're getting into, oh my God, I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, about the fact that it got to the certain point, well, we knew this as well, we've seen this months ago, where it got to the point about peace negotiations, and they're like, screw this, we're not doing any peace negotiations, we want total victory now. We've put in so much sacrifice, so much, whatever. We want full compensation. We want it all, Anyways, the military had a different standard of behavior and respect back then. That was perhaps an outdated and misguided attitude even then. All right, I'm going to stop and go to here and just say thank you so much. It's not funny. As you know, you guys give me the juice to keep going on every single week for this. Thank you so much yet again for your contributions in any way, shape, or form. Just even showing up is a contribution. So thank you so much for that. William Arends, I think this is going well. I don't know if you're going to be sticking around for the after-hours show, William Arends, but you'll be in the tail end. Could I put you in the first bit? No, I can't, I think, because I think I did the war summary bits, and then the second bits, I'm like, oh my gosh, you remember reading this in the war summary? Whatever's. Yeah, that's it. I hope you guys have a great remainder of your weekend, a great week. We'll keep on trucking for live stream 118. We better hurry up because, as you know, once Can Games kicks around, which is in 20 days' time, that entire weekend you can forget. I'm not. That's what I do. It's my version of the Olympics, which comes around every year for me, which is even better than the Olympics if you look at it that way. All right, that's it. I'm gonna hold on here. Let me go off into get rid of this. Oh my God, Tolemykus, we didn't even do your bloody. We didn't even do the logic puzzle. We'll do it next week. I know you've been so accommodating that way. It's not funny. Oh my God, there was all kinds of things we didn't talk about. The War Diary. I don't know if you guys have seen their new. Oh my God, you're right. We didn't even do Meandering Mike's option F, which is not very good. Not very good thing to be doing. That's for sure. Anyways, yeah, there's a ton of things. We'll talk about it later. The War Diary have the new website out. All kinds of actually, they do some custom maps as well. Custom map printing, I think, which would be kind of really neat to see. Hold on here. Let me get the playlist stuff ready. You know what, William Arends? I think you're really. I'm telling you, man, we've got something going on here. As far as I'm concerned, and the way if we continue working on it, improving on it every week, just a bit of progress every week. We're never gonna be perfect, but we're going in the right direction, and I'm really excited to see how this goes, especially due to the fact that you were able to. And like I said, if you're finding it a bit too much of a time constraint in the sense of the fact that Chris, I can't give you that material for you to be able to digest before the live stream. Hey, we're dealing with history here, so I can give you the material 2 weeks in advance of what we'll be talking about. And we're still gonna feel like we're going day to day, which is absolutely wonderful. Hold on here. I want to make sure that we get into the after hours war summary. But it was a lot of fun, William Arends, to be able to have your material ahead of time, and then pop in these little footnotes and so on and so forth, and start connecting the dots, or even just looking ahead. Like I said, even when I sent you an email ahead of time, when I was saying, hey, I took a look at the war summary material, and these are the things that I've noticed. If you could find anything about food or the naval engagements that's going off the Belgian coast, which you did, that type of stuff. Or what was the third thing? I can't remember. I think it was about Gaza and whatnot. And you did. You were able to. And then that second bit, which I think is the beautiful thing, which I can't wait to see you really just. I'm sorry if it sounds. I just don't want to sound condescending or whatever, but I'm excited to see you spread your wings, in a sense, your editorial wings, and see you really sink your teeth into material that you find interesting, and go, you know what, I'm gonna go down this and really hunt. This is really interesting for me, or whatever. And full well the rest of us are going to sit here fully engaged with it. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm really darn happy about that. There should be a live stream. I'm planning on doing a live stream next week, William Arends, for sure. I'm not sure about the week after. We'll see how that goes. I think I've got a commitment for that as well, but we'll see. And then, but for sure for Can Games, you can. Yeah, there's no way in hell unless I was able to have like a live cam on my forehead or something like that. But that would be the only way. But like I said, I'll be doing some whatever's. Okay. Look, like I've already said, we're gonna get into like crazy time here if I don't shut up. Oh, mind you, your first ATA, which we'll be watching second, is only 14 minutes long, but the proper ATA is 53 minutes long because I can't shut up. That's the problem, as you guys know. So anyways, that's it. I'm going to turn into a texter. I'm turning off my microphone, and that's it. I'm going to become a texter just like you people. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you later. See you in a week. Well, I'll still be typing away here. Hold on here. Oh, what a wonderful world it can be, huh? As far as I'm concerned. There we go. Get rid of your thingamajig so we see just the things. Harro Bosma, man, it was so, like I said, it was really nice. I felt a bit bad not emailing you ahead of time just to find out how things are going, and then you did. So it was great to hear. And if you can also, if you can, please take a couple of pictures of your Axis and Allies game before you put it away. That would be pretty sweet as well. Thank you very much. All right, and I'm going to get rid of me so that way you guys can see that full on. And we're going to get into this. Oh, yeah, I have to turn it off. Bye. For the war summary, April 20th to the 26th, 1917 for live stream 117, the after hours. I also mentioned last week that I was going to try to integrate some of William Arends' material from his the Arends translation Nutrition, the ATA. I'm going to record it separately and still try to figure out how to integrate things going along. But it's going to be interesting this week. Well, you're going to obviously have already seen who's ever stuck around, is that we had a live segment for the ATA, and then we have I'm going to be doing a recorded bit later on. So, geez, I wonder if I should make it as one big giant swoop. Oh, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll pause and read a bit of William Arends' stuff and whatnot. Maybe that's how I'll integrate. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Here we go. The French advance continues to be the big event of the day's war news. Oh, yes. Now, remember, we were talking about this as well. The Nivelle offensive started on the 16th of April. I understand that the newspaper is going to be a little off, like maybe a day off, but they're pretty darn quick. Let's be honest. We've been noticing that quite a bit. I think they were mentioned the taking of Vimy Ridge the day after the Canadians had done it. I think they were mentioning it on the 10th. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, remember, Nivelle said that he was going to call off the offensive supposedly after 48 hours if it didn't work. Essentially, what he wanted to do was be able to, from what I know, we're going to look at it later on, or earlier on I did in the live stream. Hopefully I did some scans of Knights of the Air, I think Canadians in the Great War, Canadian aviators in the Great War. Anyways, I'm going off track again. But Nivelle was saying that when they would pierce the thing and then follow up with another army and some cavalry and whatnot, and be able to overrun the German defenses that way, and then up towards Belgium and whatnot, and also I should know this, shouldn't I? Arras, I guess. I'm not. Don't quote me on that. But the British offensive, which included Vimy Ridge and whatnot, and they were going towards Lille-Lens, I do believe. That is a diversionary attack. We're going to find out all this later. Anyways, here we go. So I'm just saying, this is the 20th of April. So already, even if we're a day behind, we're now a day past what Nivelle said, and it's not working. And even them, I think, are trying to start talking about it here. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. That's because it sounds like they're doing pretty good right now, isn't it? The French artillery is proving irresistible. With Napoleonic rapidity of attack, the French carried their line to the Chemin des Dames, which runs across the Créon Plateau, herded into a 5-mile compound between La Faux and Joie. The position of the Germans is desperate in this sector. They must clear out or be captured. German resistance has broken down before the French attack. Nowhere have the German troops succeeded in regaining lost ground, although Hindenburg hurled 12 fresh divisions against the French lines. From Soissons to Oberried, Hindenburg resorted in vain to his old tactics of massed formations. The gray-clad German ranks melted before the withering fire of the French guns. Fighting in the Champagne region is very violent at Montvilliers. Interesting that they also mentioned that in vain to his old tactics, just to the fact that on two side notes from what I've been reading. One, they were saying that partially from the book I was reading there. Remember, don't believe anything I say. I'm just telling you what I've been reading, or I'm just whatever. Is that Bloody April partially was Bloody April? Darn it, I can't remember the general's name. Oh, starts with an N, I think. He was very resistant to changing his tactics and whatnot, the British dude. And the Germans knew this. So there you go on that one. As well as, remember, the Germans had adapted from Verdun, which it seems that Neville did not seem to understand due to the fact that he was like, okay, we'll just use what I successfully did in Verdun, but on a larger scale. And the Germans, you know, as we know, and as well as they knew exactly where he was going to do it and so on and so forth. It was nuts. 17,000 prisoners and nearly 100 guns have been taken by the French in the recent offensive. General Haig's troops have been captured to date to 228 guns. I'm screwed if I keep talking all this time, man. I'm like trying to, you know, the after hours is supposed to be just a fill over. It's now like turning into like over. Well, last week's wasn't an hour, but if I keep at this, oh my God. North of the Aisne, the enemy under heavy pressure. It's just, I'm loving this stuff. The bits, man. I've told you this before. The enemy under heavy pressure fell back from Izy, Joie, and La Faux villages, the French hanging on to their rear guards. These villages lie north of Vailly. Port de Combe, northeast of Soissons, also was occupied by Neville's troops. In the region of Tid-Bits, oh, darn it. After a lively fight, the French captured a point north of the farm, taking 500 prisoners and 2 big guns. In the Champagne region, there was a furious cannonade. 2 German counterattacks north of Mohon and Montcarnier were repulsed, the French enlarging their positions. Northwest of Oberried, they stormed and captured a strong system of German trenches along a front of about 1.25 miles. The German official report of yesterday's fighting is brief. Southeast of Arras and on the Crayon Plateau, the firing was more intense. The report alleges that the French attacks along the Aisne-Marne Canal failed, while in Champagne, although the French gained northeast of Oberried is admitted, the Germans claim to have obtained some compensating advantages in their counterattacks. According to the French reports, it was a day of substantial gains. South of Monchy-le-Preux, the British made a slight improvement in their position, the nature of which is not disclosed. East of Fampoux and southeast of Luce, a number of German prisoners were captured. South of Lens, a bombing attack on the British trenches was repulsed. On the Belgian front, a furious artillery engagement continues from day to day. Fighting also took place at Stringstrata between bombing parties. Fighting in various sectors in the Balkans was carried on chiefly by artillery. Yet the enemy has been very active on the right bank of the Vardar. Attempts of the enemy at several points to carry out reconnaissances in force were frustrated. I'm sure the sides that are shooting off the artillery, maybe both, unless you're getting nailed by the opposing artillery, must be like, oh, keep this up. I prefer artillery war than going over the flippin' trench war. Anyways, Neville's invincible troops. Oh, brother. Oh, my gosh. This is just because we know. That's the thing. It's just so tasty to know. It's like, my God, do you ever, using the wrong words. Neville's invincible troops continue to make headway in the great battle. Well, they're not. They're not invincible. In the great battle, I'm saying they're pretty darn good, but it's like, you know, ouch. That is proceeding between Soissons and the Champagne region. They're pushing northward on Lyon, pressing the enemy back from the Crayon Plateau and extending their gains around Rheims and Montvilliers. Berlin admits Hindenburg's retreat to the Siegfried positions. This new German line of defense runs east and west across the Crayon Plateau between Laon and the Chemin de Dam. The French have penetrated north of the Ain to a maximum depth of 4 miles. Oh my gosh, look at that little dot. Reminds me of when I used to do that. 600,000 French troops have been used up in the big offensive, according to a Berlin official statement. The Germans last night evacuated the dangerous angle north of the Ain, according to a dispatch from Philip Gibbs. Following the capture by the French at Fort de Cône, the position of the German defenders became desperate. In this sector, the French are pressing on to Annecy-le-Château on the main road to Laon. The Germans are counterattacking with increasing violence, but in no case has Hindenburg's mass formation succeeded. Between Saint-Quentin and the Oise River, the artillery fire showed signs of increased activity. To the north of Gergier, which lies south of Saint-Quentin, the guns were particularly active. North of the Ain, because I'm already looking up at Gergier, if it's Gerge, you get the idea. North of the Ain, further progress towards the Chemin de Dam was made, the French seizing the village of Sancy, which lies about midway between Joie and La Faux. In this triangle, formed by Soissons, Laon, and Berry-au-Boc, of which Laon is the apex, the French are subjugating the enemy to heavy pressure. In the Ali and Tid-Bits region, a violent German attack supported by guns were repulsed by the French artillery and machine guns. The guns are very active in this area. In the Champagne region, the enemy is putting up a stiff fight, but despite a stout resistance, the French improved their positions in the Moronvillers wood. In the Argonne, a great number of German dead were found when the French penetrated to the second line of trenches. Damn it. What is that? The Eastern Front Triangle. Warsaw, Ivanograd, and, chutes and ladders. Probably something south of that. Anyways, north of the, it's going to drive me nuts. North of the Ain, in Champagne, in the Argonne forest, heavy fighting between the French and German armies is in progress. Since the opening of the French offensive on Monday last, 19,000 prisoners and over 100 guns have been captured by Neville's troops. Now, it wouldn't be. Couldn't be Łódź. No, it's not Łódź. I don't think it's Łódź. That's too close to Warsaw. Ivanograd. Anyways, I'm doing it again. It was a quiet day on the British front. The guns alone broke the calm that has succeeded the Battle of Arras. Oh my God, it's Brest-Litovsk. So I was wrong. It's actually north. Okay, that's it. It is. It's that one there. The bringing up of guns and supplies necessitates a break in the fierce fighting of the past 10 days. This is not a war in which the advance can be maintained indefinitely. Oh, I love this. That's our, you know what I mean? Oh, jeepers. Until our attrition or weakened morale reduces the enemy's defensive to the breaking point, there will be no spectacular rolling up of the German lines. Yeah, you got to bring up the artillery, man. This is so cool. And then you all, oh, geez. The 18th Turkish Army Corps, which has been threatening the British advance up the Tigris, was routed in a big engagement on Wednesday last. During the night, General Maud's troops forced the passage of the Shat el Adem and fell upon the Turks next morning on the right bank of the Tigris. Pursuing the enemy, the British up to Thursday captured 27 Turkish officers and 1,217 men. Owing to the exhaustion of the cavalry, the Turks succeeded in saving their guns. The enemy was completely routed, but owing to the heat, the British cavalry was unable to continue the chase. The main position of the Turks was about 12 miles southeast of Samarra, about 60 miles northwest of Baghdad. The Shat el Adem is a tributary of the Tigris, rising in the Persian mountains and flowing midway between Tigris and the Diyala. In ancient times, the lower tributaries of the Tigris, the Adem and Diyala, became, through canalization, great waterways for the territory that lies between the Tigris and the Persian border. These canals are no longer serviceable. If that was done by the Persian Empire. Cyrus the Great and all that stuff. I wonder, because I'm sure they were into that. In the southern Palestine, the British on Tuesday last advanced north of the Wadi Guz, about 50 miles southwest of Jerusalem and captured Turkish positions along a front of 6 miles. Warships assisted in defeating the enemy. The battle is still proceeding. On March 27th, the Turks barely escaped disaster at the hands of the British in a battle near Gaza. Conference of Allied Premiers is concluded at Savoy, where the British, French, and Italian prime ministers met to discuss questions affecting cooperation between the Allied countries. The food problem in Britain yesterday reached another stage in the state control of supplies when, by an order in council, the food controller was empowered to take over any factory or other premises where food is manufactured. The strikes in Germany are still in progress. Oh, I'm just sorry. It's like proto-soda green in a wacky, weird way. The strikes in Germany are still in progress and appear to be a growing danger to the government. According to an Amsterdam dispatch, the trouble has spread to the Krupp works at Essen. 20,000 workers in 4 factories in Greater Berlin have joined strikers owing to the refusal of Chancellor von Bethmann-Hollweg to meet a deputation of the workers to discuss terms of settlement. The movement has been engineered by the new Independent Socialist Democratic Party and has a strong political tinge. Austria-Hungary also has domestic troubles to contend with. The Germans in the Austrian Empire are opposed to conciliatory concessions to national and democratic tendencies that have been strengthened by the Russian Revolution. Desertions from the German ranks are increasing in volume, the cumulative effect of which must be of grave importance to Hindenburg. The spirit of desertion inspires the frequent surrenders by Germans on the battlefield. Just on a side note, remember about William Arends mentioning last week that he was like, boy, I find this awfully interesting that most of the dispatches right now are being signed off by Ludendorff. And here we are getting this other bit towards the Hindenburg. It seems like the Allies also bits on the PR thing with Hindenburg being the poster child. It's cool. That the shadows of defeat are darkening and depressing the German trenches is shown by the determined attempt made on Monday last by 500 German soldiers and sailors to cross the border into Holland. Yeah, let's be honest, Ludendorff looks like that cat, that sad cat. I don't know what that cat is. Garfield, isn't it? The deserters were overtaken and attacked by Uhlans, and German machine guns were turned on them. 38 of the deserters were wounded. The remainder were rounded up and marched back to the German lines. The mounted guards on the Dutch frontier have been doubled. Whoa, interesting. The military situation is distinctly encouraging, according to Lord Curzon in a speech at Derby on Saturday, saying if you're playing the World War I SBI game, you'll give the other side 25 victory points. So don't do it. Don't invade Holland or the Netherlands, sorry. Although the end has not come just yet, Mr. Lloyd George, his colleague in the War Council, assures his hearers that there's no doubt that the operations of the past fortnight constitute a very considerable military victory. 4 million rounds of ammunition were fired by the British artillery during the recent fighting. Lord Curzon, while emphasizing the wonderful superiority in gunfire of the Allies, warned the public that the military power of Germany is still sufficiently strong to resist the dictation of peace terms by the Allies. Shit. I have it written down somewhere in a previous live stream. I didn't write it. I didn't ever mention it. It is 15 months worth of battles. If you connect, I think it's Verdun and the Third Battle of Ypres. I'm not sure. Don't get me wrong on that. But I did break it down, and it's 1 bullet every 2 seconds for 15 months straight. I was like, it may not sound like a lot, but think about that. But it was like 1 bullet almost every 2 seconds. Holy moly, like for 15 months straight. That's what was fired. Anyways, the French are pushing forward to the Léon Plateau, relying upon their guns in this and other sectors to blast away for the infantry at a minimum loss in casualties. General Neville is very sparing of his men, but prodigal in his use of guns and expenditure of shells. The Allies are closing in on Cambrai and Saint-Quentin. German counterattacks, that's where they're supposed to meet up, I think, is Cambrai with the British, if everything went right, which it didn't. German counterattacks nowhere have succeeded in regaining lost ground. Night and day, the enemy is harassed by the fire of Allied guns. The French Midnight Report tells of fighting in the sector south of Saint-Quentin at a point north of the village of Ouvière. The Germans again strafed Arends, particularly in the neighborhood of the famous cathedral. In the Champagne region, the enemy launched a series of counterattacks on the heights held by the French in the Montvivier area. A violent assault on Monthon led to a fierce engagement, but the temporary advantages gained by the heavy German onslaught were immediately wiped out by the French machine guns in counterattacks that took heavy toll of the enemy. Violent artillery fighting south of Saint-Quentin was reported in the French official dispatch Saturday night. Since the beginning of the present offensive, the prisoners taken by the British and French numbered 33,000, and the total guns captured 330. North of Sancy, the French made progress on Saturday on the plateau between the Ain and the Chemin des Dames. East of Crayon Plateau, ground was gained in the vicinity of Tid-Bits. North of Bray-en-Lyonnaise, the enemy made 4 attempts to leave the trenches for a counterattack, but was prevented on each occasion by a French barrage. All the fighting recorded took place within the Léon-Soissons-Neufchâtel triangle on what is known as the Saint-Quentin-Rem front. Patrol skirmishes and grenade fighting took place in the Champagne region west of the Navarin farm. German aeroplanes bombarded Dunkirk on Friday night, wounding 3 civilians. The British advance on Cambrai was pushed another mile on Friday by the capture of the village of Gonelu after a sharp fight. On Saturday, the enemy endeavored to recapture the village but was repulsed. Many German dead were left on the field. Farther advances were made on the Lens-Dois front, east of Fampoux, and northwest of Lens. In the local fighting near Lens, 2 German counterattacks were defeated. South of Ypres, the Germans raided a crater held as a post and captured a few men. In the Arras-Lens region, according to a Berlin official statement, the artillery fire increased to the most extreme violence. Ooh, what if we'll find that in the William Arends' ATA? Probably are. There are indications of preparations for renewed activity along this front. Southeast of Luce, the British gained more ground and took a number of prisoners. East of Havrincourt Wood, the village of Tresco was carried. Renewed aerial activity on the British front and much fighting between the scouts are reported in the British official dispatch. 5 German machines and 4 British were brought down during the fighting. On the Canadian front, preparations are on foot for the next big offensive. According to the cable dispatches of Stuart Lyon, thousands of men are now engaged building roads and hauling up munitions. Significant of the decline in the enemy's military strength is Mr. Lyon's statement, based on the observations of artillery experts, that the enemy's high explosive shells are deteriorating in quality, many of them never exploding. Bombs and grenades in use by the enemy also show signs of a marked decrease in destructive power. In southern Palestine, the British forces have consolidated the ground recently gained and are now in touch with the main position of the enemy, which covers Gaza, about 50 miles southwest of Jerusalem. Okay, let's just look at that sentence again. I'm just going to say it again. In southern Palestine, the British forces have consolidated the ground recently gained. Okay, all right. That doesn't sound spectacular. I'm just optimistic. The other one, though, is interesting because it may mean it the way you may not want it to have been in touch with the main position of the enemy right now. Thank you very much. But they're like, and are now in touch with the main position of the enemy, whether you like it or not. That's what I'm trying to get at. Which covers Gaza about 50 miles southwest of Jerusalem. On Wednesday last, 200 Turkish prisoners were captured. Speaking at Derby on Saturday last, Lord Curzon advised the British people to keep their eye on Mesopotamia. The steady progress in this region on all fronts, combined with the big forces employed, points to the operations in this quarter as of more than minor importance. Plus, it's basically the only 100% good thing that's going on right now for you. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I would keep my eye on that too. German, don't look down. Don't look down. Oh, brother. German, like, don't go down there. German naval activities are reported from Dover and Calais. And William Arends talks about this quite a bit in his ATA, man. At Dover, 5 German destroyers made a raid on the harbor, but before any damage was done, they were engaged by 2 British patrol boats. 2 of the enemy destroyers were sunk, the remaining boats withdrawing from the fight at top speed. The British sailors picked up 105 German survivors. The British took place on Friday night and lasted only 5 minutes. The British casualties were slight. On Saturday, German destroyers fired 100 shells in the direction of Calais, killing some civilians and wounding 12. This apparently was the aftermath of the frustrated raid on Dover. Cambrai, Saint-Quentin, and Lyon, cities on the Hindenburg Line, which are under pressure from the Allies, are big railway centers. Lyon particularly is of great importance from a military point of view. 6 lines of railway meet in Lyon. 3 have been rendered useless by the Allied advance. The 3 remaining lines connect the German front with Maubeuge, Hirson, and Mézières. The Germans are doing all in their power to hold on to Lyon, which is a pivotal point of great strength, but the French are pushing in their wedges deeper and deeper into the heart of the German defenses. 2 British hospital ships with many wounded aboard were torpedoed without warning on Tuesday last and sunk. 75 men, including 48 British and 15 German wounded, were lost when the 2 vessels went down. A thrilling tale of heroism is reported in the official announcement of the sinking of the British hospital ship La Franque. The British troops on board stood at attention while the ship was sinking. The Prussians on board, is related, rushed for the lifeboats. All right. So just going to say, who's got the better IQ? Just got to say that. Heavy and continuous fighting on both banks on the Scarpe is the big news from the Western Front. General Sir Douglas Haig, in his midnight dispatch, reports the capture of Guillemot, south of Monchy-le-Preux, and also reports progress southwest of Lens. A marked feature of the day's fighting was the determined counterattacks by the enemy, in which the German losses were very heavy. Put it this way, if I was one of the Germans getting on the lifeboat, I probably would have yelled, "Encore! Encore!" Waved away. Anyways, the British yesterday at dawn resumed the offensive along an 8-mile front from a point south of Vimy Ridge to a point south of Croisier. 1,500 prisoners have been counted so far, and the fighting continues. The 141st Pomeranians surrendered in big batches after a feeble resistance, and a battery of field guns was captured. It's weird because the only thing I know of Pomeranians are dogs, so it's like, whoa. The second phase of the Battle of Arras, known as the Battle of Douai, opened shortly, or maybe not, based on the way I pronounce things, opened shortly before 5 o'clock, the heaviest fighting taking place between Gavrel and Croisier, which I think it's 3 ways I've said it in 2 paragraphs. Anyways, along both banks of the Scarpe and around Monchy-le-Preux, which the Germans have made repeated attempts to recapture. A strong link in the chain of heights now held by the British troops, the capture of Monchy-le-Preux gave General Haig a fine observation post that commands a view eastward for 40 miles. Between Gavrel and Croisier is the last switch line on this part of the front between the British and the Hindenburg Line. The attack on this position was no surprise to the enemy. Many additional batteries and I also saw that in William Arends' ATA. Many additional batteries and mass formations of machine guns were brought up to meet the British assault. Strong reserves stiffened the German defense and made the task of the British one of the exceptional difficulty. It was an open fight on parts of the front, as the enemy had no dugouts to shelter him from the deadly artillery fire. Casualties were higher and prisoners fewer on these sections of the line of battle. The assault broke upon the Germans before they had time to complete their trench defenses. The villages held by the enemy bristled with machine guns. And like the guy said, keep your eyes on Mesopotamia. Hindenburg's line of defense is no longer a well-defined line of trenches, but a series of fortified positions in villages and little redoubts and saps around which the fighting rages. Sometimes these little fortified places are completely isolated, the German defenders fighting on after they are surrounded in the belief that relief is at hand. The clearing out of these numerous units is an arduous and dangerous task for infantry and is generally entrusted to the artillery. Oh yeah, they've got to call up the artillery, hopefully get airplanes to spot the areas. Of course, now they're into formerly German occupied territory, which is what the Germans are used to. They basically, anyways, I'll shush. That's right. I'm going to stop trying to use that bloody word. Anyways, Canadian troops took part in yesterday's fighting on the Arras front. On the northern end of the line, at the electric station to the west of Amiens, the enemy was so strongly entrenched behind artillery and machine guns that the artillery was signaled to prepare the way for the waiting infantry. Stuart Lang, in a midnight dispatch, says that house-to-house fighting followed the bombardment of the electric station at Amiens. The Canadian line is now close up to Amiens, a southern suburb of Lens. My God, can you imagine? I mean, as you know, if you got the reserves waiting, and the other side's got to bring up the artillery before they can do. Oh my! It's like, yeah, you're in the great shape. The fight for Léon Plateau is still in progress. The French made further progress yesterday between the Aisne and the Chemin des Dames. North of Sancy, the guns were very active in the Tid-Bits farm area. It has been a disastrous week for Germany. The total casualties being estimated at 100,000. Wait until next week. You'll be saying this about France. Hindenburg has been compelled to use up a considerable number of his reserves in his massed attacks against the French positions. The vast plateau of Léon, up the southern side of which the French have been steadily gaining ground, rises from the banks of the Aisne to a height of from 300 to 700 feet. That'll be neat now, is because I am actually almost like the foot is going flipped around or the table is turned. I start reading out William Arends' ATA ahead of time. I'm wondering if I'm going to be as critical of the German stuff, or am I still going to be biased towards the Central Powers? Be neat to know. The plateau is broken by countless ravines and is traversed in a northeasterly direction by the high road to Maubeuge, along which the French have been driving the enemy. Concealed in the ravines, the enemy had plenty of artillery and machine guns to dispute the French advance. But Neville's troops in the past week have remember, 48 hours, have swept over every obstacle and are still pushing ahead. On the Belgian front, the Germans attacked at various points, but were driven back by the fire of the French batteries. Hand-to-hand fighting took place at some points, penetrated by the enemy, who was driven out with loss of prisoners. German designs against Russia are reflected in a Petrograd dispatch, which announces the sailing of a German battleship and cruiser squadron from the bow. My God, you guys don't even know about the train ride. We know who. Another German warship squadron, it is reported, has left Kiel. The objective of these naval squadrons is Petrograd, according to an official statement from the Riga front, which announces that a number of transports loaded with troops were being convoyed by the German naval flotilla, which left Libau. This sounds like a good Great War at Sea scenario. I wonder if there is one of this one. It'd be neat to find out. The Germans, it is said, hope to land a force on the northern front somewhere on the Gulf of Finland and cut off Petrograd. Since the revolution, it has been the declared intention of the new government to change the capital from Petrograd to Moscow. But there's less to fear from a German attack in this direction now that the revolution has rid Russia of its pro-German rulers. Oh my God. From a strategical point of view, Russia has a number of strongly fortified defenses capable of resisting a German thrust at Petrograd. Oh, I'm just thinking of the map upstairs, the SBI thing. under the menace of a German occupation of the capital, New Russia, like revolutionary France at the latter end of the 18th century, will be solidly united by the danger from without. Germany in the past, it's the danger from within you got to worry about, man. Germany in the past counted upon the Russian autocracy. The Russian people, which really is the army, has taken the place of the pro-German autocracy, with the exception of a small group of workmen obsessed with anarchist ideas. Oh my gosh. Russia is united in face of the enemy. The danger from a small group of workmen obsessed with anarchist ideas. Oh, brother. This is just beyond juicy, man. The danger from an open rupture between the executive committee of the Duma and the Council of the Workmen's and Soldiers' Deputies was averted by adding Mr. Kerensky, the leader of the latter, to the provisional government as Minister of Justice. The inclusion of this labor leader in the government has had a restraining influence on the extremists and secured more stable conditions of government. Oh, we get to watch this week to week and just watch this fall apart in slow motion. It's going to be unbelievable. Where am I here? In an interview yesterday, Mr. Kerensky emphasizes the fact that the Russian people are today more united and determined than ever in the resolve to defend their country against the German invader. Blows me away, man. We're not even talking about the Tsar anymore. Like, my gosh, it's like, I don't know if he's in Siberia already or whatnot. Is that where he goes? That little house. Anyways, German resistance to the British advance on the Western Front is stronger and more stubborn. The Drucourt-Quéant line is not yet completed, and the enemy is fighting desperately to hold up General Haig's offensive, while the armies of forced labor in the rear are working night and day upon the trenches and gun emplacements. Big German reinforcements were hurled yesterday into the breaches made by the British, and counterattacks and massed formations succeeded in some places in regaining lost positions. Fierce fighting took place at Guimap, southwest of Monchy-le-Preux. This village was captured, lost, and retaken on Monday, and is being held by the Scottish defenders against repeated assaults of the enemy. It is a battle royal for possession of the dominating heights of Monchy, which command the Cambrai road. On the slopes of Monchy, in the little wood called Bois de Sable, 4,000 fresh German troops gathered for a counterattack were sighted by the British aerial scouts. The wood was bombarded with gas shells and the enemy practically annihilated. Well, there's a perfect example of that working well, isn't it? Maud of Baghdad, as he is known in England, has met and defeated the Turks in a big engagement at Samarra on the Tigris, about 60 miles northwest of Baghdad. I'd love to know what the Turks call them. The enemy was strongly entrenched on the right bank of the river and defended his fortified positions with great bravery and tenacity. Fighting all the way from Istabalat, the British occupied Samarra railway station on Monday morning and seized 16 locomotives and 224 railway trucks. 2 barges containing munitions also fell into the hands of the attacking force as the Turks hastily retired after destroying as much as time permitted. Hand-to-hand fighting took place as the Turks made repeated counterattacks, but despite their stubborn resistance, they were driven from their elaborate defenses and dugouts with heavy losses. A number of prisoners were taken. Wearing red and white rosettes in honor of St. George's Day, the British troops advanced against terrific fire from artillery and machine guns. I think I'd be wearing that on my back. Taking cover in wrecked trenches and shell holes, or in my underwear. I'm just saying, I wouldn't want to have like a target-y looking thing. It doesn't really matter, does it? There was so many freaking bullets by then. Taking cover in wrecked trenches and shell holes, they fought their way with great dash and bravery, inflicting terrific losses on the enemy. Hindenburg's orders to his troops were to hold their ground or die, and they died literally in thousands as they counterattacked in successive waves. The heaviest counterattack by the enemy was above Fontaine-le-Croisier, where the British were hard-pressed and forced to yield ground on Monday evening. During Monday night and Tuesday morning, the British returned to the attack and drove the enemy back with heavy losses. In this sector, 1,600 German prisoners were taken. Among the prisoners, the belief is strong that the war can't last much longer. So that would have been, remember, so that would have been Wednesday night and Thursday morning, our time in our universe. The capture of Samarra railway station gives General Mahd possession of the northern terminal of the Baghdad Railway. Whether the railway beyond Samarra has been extended since war broke out has not yet been disclosed. I'm just going to say this, I'm thinking of the Der Weltkrieg map for that area, and holy moly, from just down where the, you know, like, wait, I'm like, that's pretty. They've really gone far. Holy smokes. From Samarra, the route of the Baghdad Railway runs through Tikrit and Mosul, thence westward to Ras El Ain, the present railhead. There's another break between Adana and Bougourou, where a tunnel 18 miles long through the Taurus Mountains was incomplete when war broke out. Remember, we spotted that a long time ago on the map. I was like, hey, is it there? And it really is. Dave Schroeder actually has a break in the rail thing on it. It's so awesome. Even mentions it in the news, in the rules, that you've got to, detrain and then in-train again and so on and so forth. It's really nice. From Burgulu, the railway is completed to Kara Hisar, a junction where the Constantinople and Smyrna trains meet. From Constantinople, the lines run through Adrianople to Berlin. Darn it! There's the Maritsa River. It's not here. It's in the Balkans, I do believe. I'd love to find out. There was an area where the British kept bombing the living dickens out of a bridge, or tried to nail to break up that railway. I think they were successful. The Turks have been reinforced in southern Palestine. I'd love to find the bridge. Their strongly fortified positions extend from Gaza in the direction of Beersheba. The British are proceeding satisfactorily with the organization of their new position gained on the front of the enemy's main line. At Gaza, our artillery, assisted by aircraft, destroyed a Turkish munitions dump, just the way you're supposed to do it. Perfect. The extreme left of the Allied line has been showing signs of increasing activity for over a month past. The French official report states that on this front, held by the Belgians and supported by French guns, the artillery bombardment was intense yesterday morning. The extreme left rests on the British fleet. It is a melancholy and monotonous region, but to the Belgian, it is sacred soil. All that is left to defend of his once smiling and prosperous country. The Belgian defenses have suffered so far to hold the left wing, a post of honor in the straggling line across the face of Europe. British aircraft bombarded German destroyers off the Belgian coast on Monday afternoon. 5 enemy destroyers were sighted between Blankenberge and Zeebrugge and were attacked by 3 seaplanes. A direct hit was made on one of the destroyers. 4 destroyers only returned to Zeebrugge. The encounter took place 5 miles off the coast. The victims of the recent German raid on Dover, including both British and German sailors who persisted in the fight, were buried yesterday with full naval honors. Wicked! Because William Arends mentions this as well in the ATA. Even has a little translator's note at the end. I was like, whoa. And I didn't know he was going to do that. And I made a footnote when I was reading this stuff going, boy, I'm going to mention this. And boink, he does. And then boink, these guys do too. Awesome stuff. So in a weird way, this is getting integrated. I'm just not jumping back from article to article right now. It just happens because William Arends was able to provide me with the material far in advance. So I was able to actually read it before I could do this, which is totally cool. Fighting on the French front yesterday was confined to artillery. Remember, progress. We're not perfect, but we're progressing. The French guns shelled the German batteries, I think so anyways, and organizations from Saint-Quentin to the Champagne region, destroying some of the enemy's batteries. Near Meandering, French troops that penetrated the enemy's trenches found them filled with dead. The Bulgarian Minister of War is quoted by the Berlin Zeitungs correspondent at Copenhagen as saying that peace is nearer than many think. In the opinion of the Bulgarian minister, peace has been brought nearer by the Russian Revolution and the entry of the United States. When, however, he adds that the entry of America withdraws supplies from the Allies, the Bulgarian minister is somewhat wide of the mark. That the Bulgarians would gladly escape from the German toils into which the Tsar Ferdinand led them may be taken for granted. Meantime, the Allies are not paying much attention to peace rumors. On the Italian front, the Austrians are growing more aggressive. In the Sagana Valley, oh my God, we're getting close to Caporetto. In the Sagana Valley, extensive movements of troops were reported behind the Austrian lines. At other points, the Italians repelled enemy raids and occupied an advanced position at Castanarizza in a surprise attack. The guns were busy all day. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm just endorphin rush from hell. This stuff is amazing for me. Oh, I'm having a blast. Anyways, a big British offensive in Macedonia was opened on Tuesday night after an artillery preparation lasting 3 days. I can say is this. I hope to God everybody can find their what they love to do and get to really do it. Just go. Go nuts, man. Be relentless. Anyways, between the southern end of Lake Doran and a point northwest of Dolzeli in the vicinity of Salonika, the British advanced about 500 yards in the front of 1 mile. The enemy launched 4 counterattacks but was repulsed with losses. The British have consolidated the ground won. Farther east, the official report states, the British penetrated the enemy's lines but were unable to hold the captured trenches. Fighting continues. I'm doing the same stuff I did when I was a kid. You know what I mean? But now this is like real in a weird way. Anyways, heavy fighting continues along the Scarpe River, where the British have made further slight advances. The German resistance is stiffening, tide of battle ebbing and flowing over the ground east of Monchy Heights, where thousands of German dead testify to the stubbornness of Hindenburg's defense. 15 German and 6 British aircraft were brought down in the aerial fighting that took place above the heads of the contesting armies. Ooh, that's a big difference. Remember last week was the other way around. Well, not that much difference, but it was the British were losing every single time. I did notice an earlier one where the British were ahead by 1 plane, but this is monstrous. I mean, it's more than 2 to 1. Anyways, the fight for possession of the woods near Guimap hung in the balance on Tuesday. Parties of British troops, including men of the Argyll and Middlesex regiments, having been cut off from their main supports and giving up as lost. Wasn't it the Middlesex regiment that were on that ship, or part of some kind of ship that was about to sink? Remember a couple of weeks ago, and they I think they sang, they did another tune, another bunch of freaks. Anyways, British freaks doing that. Having cut off from their main supports and giving up as lost. Yesterday morning, then they didn't drown. None of them drowned. Yesterday, but they were certainly sounding like they were getting ready for it. Well, in a weird way, you know what I mean? Yesterday morning, the Scottish and English troops resumed the attack and relieved the men who had been cut off and who had held out, although under fire from both friends and foes. The line has been restored east of Guimap on the edge of the woods. I can say that, though. I can guarantee you the freaking song or the tune they did was a little bit, maybe a little bit more beats per minute than normal. Men of the Worcester Regiment, according to Philip Gibbs, had a similar experience to that of the Argyll and Middlesex troops. Cut off in a small wood for several days and surrounded by. Doesn't this also have a premonition of that American group there, the Lost Battalion or whatever? Meandering Mike knows all about those guys. The enemy, they exhausted their emergency rations but refused to surrender, although suffering from thirst and hunger. When the British advanced on Tuesday night, the siege was raised and the gallant Worcesters rejoined their comrades. On the Léon Plateau, north of Vauxhall, the Germans launched an attack against the French trenches, but were dispersed by artillery and machine gun fire. At the Hutterbise farm east of Crayon Plateau, the enemy suffered heavy losses yesterday morning in an unsuccessful attempt to drive out the French. A second attack also failed, the French in a spirited counterattack, forcing the enemy back to his trenches. Northwest of Crayon, north of the Vauxhall Plateau, the French guns broke up a concentration of enemy troops. Artillery fire was continuous along the entire French front. On the Belgian front, especially at Dixmude, the artillery was actively engaged throughout the day. And I haven't heard much from Africa. Like I said last week, I'm wondering if it's because it's the rainy season. Southwest of Lens and southeast of Ypres, enemy raiding parties were repulsed early yesterday morning. Good weather set in, enabling the aircraft to extend their offensive activities behind the enemy's lines. 40 vessels were sunk by the enemy's submarines and mines last week, the vessels lost being over 1,500 tons each. Of vessels under 1,500 tons each, 15 were sunk. 27 vessels which were attacked outwitted the enemy and escaped. These losses are in excess of the number sunk in any previous week since the Admiralty issued its weekly reports. The submarine danger is still of serious concern to British shipping. Darn it, is it? I think it's the ATA, William Arends' ATAs. I'm pretty darn sure. It sounds like the Germans know, are very knowledgeable of where the ships are and so on and so forth, like their routes and everything. Is quite interesting. Dunkirk was bombarded by, you know what I mean? I would like to find out on the counter bits. I find often we always hear about, the British, found this code book and were able, to figure out. Not the other way around. Did the Germans ever know anything about what was going on with the British? I know we know they did this, certainly did that with the Russians at the very beginning, but I mean that was for a lot of other reasons, Tannenberg and all that stuff. Anyways, Dunkirk was bombarded by German destroyers early yesterday morning. The enemy was engaged by British and French torpedo boats. One of the French boats was sunk in the encounter. The naval engagement off Dover on the night of April 20th was one that will thrill the outside world as the story of the fight is read. 2 British destroyers met and engaged a flotilla of German destroyers. 2 opposing destroyers were locked in deadly embrace, while the British sailors in the Nelsonian way boarded the enemy and fought the crew hand to hand. Oh, cool. On another boat, a British midshipman fought back German boarders with his revolver until help came and the Germans were killed. I'm just thinking of Richard Belitho books. And the Germans were killed or driven into the sea. The British destroyers that waged this unequal conflict were the Swift and the Broke, which limped back to port after their stirring adventure with 6 enemy destroyers, 2 of which were sunk. Damn, I loved it before he became a post captain. Then he kind of gets, a bit moody. General Maud I'm talking about Richard Belitho. General Maud reports I haven't finished the stories because it started turning into a slog and then I became a great war lover. That's what happened. General Maud reports having driven the Turks from the west bank of the Shat El Adem to a point about 17 miles north of its junction with the Tigris. In the fighting at Istabalat, over 600 Turkish prisoners and 15 guns were captured. The guns taking including 14 Krupps, 1,200 rifles, 500,000 rounds of ammunition, and other stores also fell into the hands of the British. An official report issued by the Turkish War Office admits that the Turks have retired to new positions north of Samara. The Turks, acting under German instructions, claim a victory over General Maud's forces at Samara, explaining that their retirement to the north of the town was in accordance with plans. I was going to say this. How quick do you think the British are going to clue in on how to use a Krupp? Pretty freaking quick. Anyways, the Germanization of Constantinople is reflected even in the war dispatches. The Turkish vizier, Talat Bey, is on a visit to Berlin. They're in some doubt as to the real purpose of the Grand Vizier's trip. In Copenhagen, the belief is expressed that Turkey is suing for aid against the advancing Anglo-Russian armies. New York will be a riot of color when the Anglo-French missions visit the city. A great welcome to the visitors is being planned, worthy of the occasion. The French mission on its arrival in Washington met with the most enthusiastic welcome. Well, the neat thing is it'll all be red, white, and blue, just different ways. Whoa, is that the last page? Holy smokes, I didn't even realize I had finished. Woof. Okay, well, that's the end of that. I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to go on to the William Arends' thing, but I'm going to hit the stop bit for this, but wait for part 2. All right. See you later. I am going to hit the pause and then go to the next. Yeah, I think so. What do you think? I'm going to stop. All righty. So this is going to be pretty bright because I got the lights on so I can read. And it's slightly a little bit different than the after hours thing. But anyways, this is our first installment of the ATA after hours style. Let's see how this goes. So I've got these little sheets. You're going to see in a little bit. I made these little footnote-y things. You'll see these tiny little superscript, yellow highlighted in bold font, full bold type. You'll see. Anyways, here we go, and see how it goes. Hopefully it goes well. All right. And yeah, I wanted to kind of keep it separate actually for now, so that way I can have it like a separate playlist. So if someone wants to go and take a look at the ATA separately, you can. Here we go. Berlin's latest news. Friday, April 20th, 1917, the evening edition, a successful counterattack on Champagne. The new thrust shattered 30 divisions in the battle. The French offensive comes no further. The wireless report from our war correspondent in the field. The long prepared. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit pause because I forgot to do a bit of spell checking. Hold on. All right, I think I did it. The wireless report from our war correspondent in the field. The long prepared breakthrough offensive that with the powerful means of the entire Entente and that is now being led and performed in large part by the French has not achieved the hopes of our enemies, not even in a reduced form in this period of time. If one would choose to view the picture as it really appears, that individual would see that we have held on to all of our positions at this juncture of the war behind our barbed wire obstacles. The picture we can draw about the third day of the battle of this battle is as follows. And I popped that in because if you remember, the Nivelle offensive was only supposed to go on for 48 hours and he was going to call it off. And already we're in day 3. The duration of the heaviest artillery battles had the effect of exhausting all the advanced thrusts of the French infantry and resulted in hard, close combat at various positions where the enemy's superiority in numbers did not give them success at any point along the line. I swear to God, this sounds the exact flip, like the exact reverse of the English bits of talking about how the Germans were getting exhausted, pouring into their reserves to try to stem the flow of the British up north. Interesting. The French repeated these assaults in a partial way near allies Cerny, Crayon, and in the Champagne with special activity by Oberif that failed everywhere without exception. The rage they projected that was on display at our forward battle positions at l'Abbaye-en-Bois, we have fought to a standstill in response. And I put in the number 2 there for the rage they projected. What does this actually specifically refer to? Is that about the initial French confidence and morale of the troops going in there? Is it about revenge for the Franco-Prussian War? Are they alluding to that a little bit? Is it about the intense artillery barrage that precluded the infantry? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out. In our counterattacks, we've made those aggressors prisoners and have taken their mortars and rifles with bayonets as well. An assault on Fort Brimont failed after long days of artillery barrages. There, the enemy lost many soldiers killed in action and 94 soldiers wounded in action. Wu Shuerman, embedded war correspondent. And I put that in because I was like, when did the term embedded war correspondent first appear? Anybody know? I'd like to know. From our headquarters, the higher headquarters, 20th of April, the Western Theater of War, the army of Crown Prince Ruprecht. On the battlefield of Arras, the activity of the artillery fire has incrementally increased. The army of the German Crown Prince, the occupation that began on March 16th and has been exploited by the long reach of the enemy, has been halted on the Siegfried line. Yesterday, northeast of Soissons, the weapons fire occurred along the banks of the Ain between Condé and Soupir. The enemy's response was weakened by their hesitations. And I just put, what a great line. I just think that I just love that. It just makes me think for a while about the enemy's response was weakened by their hesitations, which is just fascinating. The twinned battles on the Ain and in the Champagne has continued along the ridge of the Chemin des Dames. The heavy artillery battle is also ongoing. Near Bray-Cerny, and with the actions of great massed units on both sides of Craonne, where the French reserve French regiments that have arrived here have been ground up in futile attempt to win the high point, suffering great losses. Despite the already unsuccessful attacks by the French in the area of the siege of Brimo, they renewed their attacks yesterday afternoon. The newly employed French divisions assaulted in waves to the front of our positions on the Aisne-Marne Canal for a 15th time with bloody results. And I just put 15 times the French assaulted the same position. Is this true? This is nuts if it is. And then the Russians were also thrown into this line of fire in another futile attempt. I just put that in because here we are again, but it's from the other side, talking about the Russians being on the Western Front still, even though they got troops there, but they know what's happening at home. The troops of our 16th Division, which are stationed there, are still the masters of the field. In Champagne, the battle was actively being fought in the forest region between the street of Thierry-Noré and around the region of Auberiff. In a splendid counterattack, we pushed back the enemy forces who, the day before yesterday, were moving forward. We retook, with our well-led troops, all the ground that the enemy had recently taken from us in close combat. A second attempt by the French to break through in the Champagne has been thoroughly thwarted. In this effort, the French command had employed 30 divisions on both battlefields. And I'd like to know, is this true? If it is true, holy smokes, as far as I'm concerned, the Germans, yet again, there's another indication that they are well informed of what the French have got and what they have in store for the Germans. Fascinating. They were sent here after the termination of the Battle of the Somme, for this breakthrough attack had been intensively drilled for this hoped-for march to victory. And then again, I put in 8 for number 8. The Germans seem awfully well informed about what's been going on. All these things that the French have pinned their hopes on have not been fulfilled, which is absolutely true, as we know. I mean, they were like, even remember Ribot there was worried his government was going to collapse and gave the green light to Neville's thingamabob. The army group of Crown Duke Albrecht, no meaningful actions to report. The Eastern Theater of War. Yesterday, the Russian artillery fire has stopped in many sectors. There's nothing to report about the activity of the infantry. Macedonian front, on the Cernastina, the French have failed to recover the portion of the ground that they had lost to the German and Bulgarian troops on the 17th of April, the day after the Neville offensive. The first General Quartermaster, Ludendorff. The U-boat war, number 9. I just put down here, what do we make on how the Germans report on how the U-boat campaign is going? I'm just bringing that out. The Danish Foreign Ministry related to a telegram message from the Danish ambassador to London after the Danish steamer Robert, 1,445 tons, was sunk while underway to England. 12 men, one of them who had been severely wounded, were rescued and delivered to Kirkwall. 7 of the crew had been killed. Further telegram from the London embassy told of the Danish steamer Bretagne, 1,110 tons, underway from England to Copenhagen with a shipment of coal, had also been sunk in the North Sea. The crew was rescued. 8 crew members landed in Peterhead. The rest of the crew, the ship's captain, were taken to Aberdeen. The Danish Foreign Ministry related. The Danish consul in Barcelona reported that the Danish 3-masted schooner Angzar, 301 tons, with a shipment of wood from America to Spain, was set on fire in the Mediterranean Sea. The crew has been taken to Barcelona. Madrid, 17th of April. Wireless report from the representative of the K&K Correspondence Bureau. The Impartial reported the southwest of Huelva on the 14th of April, the Portuguese steamer Fres de Mas, underway from Lisbon to Gibraltar, was sunk by a U-boat. In Tangier, those shipwrecked when the Italian steamer Giuseppe de Cama, 4,000 tons, was sunk by a U-boat on the 13th of April, northwest of Tangier, landed at that port. The crew of that steamer had observed the same U-boat that sank their ship had torpedoed a troop and animal transport steamer of 8,000 tons that had gone under the waves in minutes. Brought in as a prize, Hamburg, 19th of April. On Thursday, the Norwegian steamer Northern was brought to port as a prize. It had been determined that it had been carrying a shipment meant for our enemies in Cuxhaven. Berlin's latest news, Saturday, 21st of April, 1917, the evening edition. Aha, now we're getting into the good stuff. Well, for me. Shush. A new victory for the Turks at Gaza. The Second Battle of Gaza has been won. Not according to the British. The destruction of a cruiser of the Foxglove class off Constantinople, 20th of April. Official army report, Sinai front. After the night of the 18th to the 19th of April, this front appeared to be calm. Then yesterday, the Second Battle of Gaza began about 5 in the morning. Lively artillery fire bombarded the city. Soon after that, the first enemy reconnaissance movement was detected when a heavy fog that had hindered our view lifted, clearing the air. Towards 8 o'clock in the morning, the enemy infantry attack began. On both sides of the street leading to Gaza, an enemy division assaulted our positions. I just put that in because I'm like talking about the Second Battle of Gaza and the mentioning of enemy divisions. Are these really divisions? I think the Turks are stretching this. I mean, exaggerating a bit much. We'll see, but I mean, what do they mean by a division? Is maybe there, you know what I mean? A second division turned up against the middle section of our line in the southeast of Gaza. I don't think what I mean of a division is what I'm trying to say. The enemy cavalry that seemed to have hesitated in joining the attack now moved against the right wing of our group of defenders that held our left wing. During this movement, an enemy armored car was destroyed. Up until noon, the battle was fought along the entire line. Everything was in full motion, especially the action against both of our groups in the right wing. Despite taking great losses, the enemy did not have any success and did not come nearer than 800 meters to our positions. In the afternoon, around 3 p.m., the group in our middle had already rebuffed 2 enemy attacks. After a third attack, with consideration to the devastation to their rank, the enemy had to pull back. The situation turned so much in our favor that a counteroffensive thrust against the enemy's right wing could be initiated. Around 7 p.m. in the evening, our middle group had rejected a third attack on their enemy position, resulting in heavy losses for the enemy. All positions around Gaza were now firmly in our hands. On the left wing, our cavalry pushed the enemy's cavalry away. Now, Earth calling, I don't think I need to explain why I have a little footnotey thing there for this one. On the left wing, our cavalry pushed the enemy's cavalry away. This is 1917. I know we're not on the Western Front, but still, we haven't seen this much very often. Well, maybe a little bit up in the Balkans area with the Bulgarians and whatnot. But cavalry versus cavalry, pretty cool. It became evident that an unstoppable retrograde route was happening on the right wing of the enemy. I know why I have number 12 for that, because I just think it's yet again another freaking awesome line. Retrograde route. That is so cool. In the later evening hours, the left wing of our infantry joined with the cavalry division. Probably not a cavalry division, so now that's maybe giving up the ghost there for the other bit up there. Means maybe a unit. To attack our weakened enemy. Mind you, division sounds a hell of a lot more powerful than unit. Even in the darkness, all signs pointed to a complete enemy retreat. Unless, of course, I don't know what you got between your whatevers. From the other Turkish war fronts, there have been no special results. One of our U-boats in the eastern Mediterranean Sea sank 2 sailing ships as a small English cruiser, probably of the, I think it would be Foxglove class. I'm going with that sunk 40 nautical miles west of Alexandria. It is and that's it. And I think you did, and which we'll talk about a bit later. And I think that went pretty darn good. All right, see ya.